All right, what's up, friends? So going to talk about the truck a little bit today. So what I want to do in the beginning of this video is go over the stands that I made. I briefly went over it in the last video, but I want to go into a little bit more detail, and I'll show some pictures because I didn't record anything because I was just in the zone and working on stuff. These stands, essentially what I did, there's a stand here, and there's 4 stands on the turbos. So this one I didn't do because I cut the bed out right there, but it's still pretty sturdy with just the 4 of them there. So essentially what that stand is just a piece of pipe, a tube, with some threaded rod inside of it. So I made a little base for it, and I'll insert some pictures here. Welded a little base on. I tried a couple different types of welds. I did like a fusion weld, and then I did a stainless filler weld, and then I did a ER70 S6 weld, just to kind of see what the differences were. Then I painted them black. I also polished them. I put the things in the drill and spun it in the drill on a Scotch-Brite until it was completely polished, and then painted them up. So that's how the little stand looks on the bottom. And you can see there's the 2 different types of welds. So one of them's the fusion weld, and then one of them's one of the filler welds. And I did a nut on the top just because that rod is still loose inside there. So if I have the turbo pipe and everything out, it's not going to fall through. And then I have it evenly spaced with 26 threads from the top of this nut exposing this. So I figured that would cover the distance of both flanges. And then I'm going to put a jam nut on the top of this. So each one's going to have a jam nut on it. And I'm going to do jam nuts on the bottom side. That's just how I like doing things. So there they are, painted, sturdy. And yeah. And then on the bottom side, I also did another plate. So it's like an 1.5 by 1.5-ish plate on the bottom, just so it doesn't pull through. Like if I roll the truck or something like that, it gives it a little more surface area, so it doesn't just pull that nut through it. So hopefully we never get that far, but it's pretty sturdy. Got to put the other nut on there. You can see the other set coming through down there. And I do have plenty of room because the gas tank is right there, and got plenty of room to get in there with some tools, and they're not too long, so that worked out okay. So last night started working on the oil lines. I didn't really get too far because I spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do with the drains. So everything seems a little bit simpler in my head when I planned it, but there's not a whole lot of room here, so I really didn't know what I wanted to do there. My original plan was to just go down and into the scavenge pump, but we got pipes there, and I want to make sure that there's good flow, and the scavenge pump should actually help kind of suck the oil through, so not too worried about that. I was going to do like a 1/2-inch NPT, because that's the flanges that I bought, 1/2-inch NPT to barb flange, and then I was just going to run like a hose because these just have barbs. I was just going to do cheap oil hose and then run it up front, but I didn't really like that idea because I spent a lot of time like trying to make everything else halfway decent, and decided not to half-ass it on this when I could. So I thought about a couple different options, like doing the cheap stuff to barb. Then I got frustrated with that idea because I wanted to kind of keep the lines away from the heat, even though, I mean, you're putting oil through this thing and it's probably going to be 600 degrees anyways. So I wanted to keep the lines kind of away from the heat. So what I decided I was going to do, I even thought about doing copper for a while with like compression fittings, because I thought that would look kind of cool to do like copper lines into a little tank. But I was thinking about how I wanted to do the merge, like 3 into 1. So I decided I'm going to go with all braided stainless, like the stainless color lines with black AN fittings. And then I'm going to run them through to the backside. So I'm going to have a 90, the stainless line. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build an oil tank right here. So I'm going to use like some 2.5-inch or 3-inch tube. I'm going to build a little stainless plate. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to weld 4 stainless bungs onto the stainless tube and then cap the tube so it's like a nice little tower. So that'll be in a different video. But this pump is basically going to be mounted right underneath the bed on these little raised sections. So that should fit perfectly. And then the base of this tower is going to be right on top of this, kind of bolted together. So I'll be able to run the line, 3 lines in here with the 10 AN fittings. So all 3 will drain into the tank, and then there's going to be another AN fitting on the opposite side, and then run it into the pump, and then run the pump to the front. So that's what I'm waiting on. I decided all that last night, just ordered the part, so it's going to be another few days. But tonight, I'm going to work on getting the supply line. So right now I just have the feed coming up with this stainless line into oil pressure sender for my dummy light on my dash, so my gauge works, and coming back over here to where the turbo used to be. So what I'm going to do now is just take this thing, probably keep this angle, and then I'm going to run it down next to the frame, and I'll have to make my line. So I did get some black AN line, so that's what I'm going to use to go from the back section to here. So let's do that. On these kits that I'm using, I usually get the eBay kits, and what I've been doing lately on like the last few builds is I'm just buying like the $60 kit that comes with 20 feet worth of line and then a bunch of fittings. Depending on what I'm doing, usually the fitting mix-up works pretty well. So I've been doing that with these because I was having issues with buying fittings and line individually because they're different brands and they don't fit, so I was having a lot of problems with it. So like this one here, I didn't take much of the tape off of it. I just slapped it on because it came with tape on the end, so it kind of looks like crap, but that's going to be under the truck, so I don't really care. But this fit inside the fitting with the tape on it, and I was having a lot of issues before with buying them individually, and then I couldn't even get the line inside the fitting to start it, so I would have to cut all the braiding off, which kind of defeats the purpose, I think. So that's what I've been doing. It's like 50 or 60 bucks depending on the kit, and you get a bunch of fittings and usually end up having extras. So that's what I like to do now. Okay, so I got the line all finished up, runs from front to back. I'm gonna leave it kind of like this, but I'm probably gonna I'll probably weld a little tab on, mount this thing centered, and put a tab somewhere to mount this block, and then it'll be just kind of back there like that. So I'm also thinking about a way that I can run these lines along the pipe like that. I think it'd be kind of cool if they followed the bend in the pipe. So I'm trying to think of a way to make those lines stiff, or put something around it or underneath it so I can get them to follow. I think that'd be kind of cool, better looking than just flopped over the back, but not important. We'll work on that later, and over the next couple days I'll be waiting on parts, and I'll probably start getting this guy mounted and starting to get stuff a little bit closer. So other than that, just got to do the drain lines, wire the scavenge pump in. I already have wiring because I ran a methanol injection pump before, so I already have the wiring ready to go. We're close.